Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SuckerFree Sports Talk, your Chicago sports talk show for everything Bulls, Bears, and more without the BS. I am your host, Sam James, and on this episode, we'll talk some college football, some Big Ten. I'm going to give you my NFL power rankings, and I'm going to give you my picks of the week. But before all that, we got some Bears to talk. Some Bears ranting and raving. Was not a good week 2 for the Bears, to say the least. I'm going to try to stay calm. I'm going to try to keep it as positive as possible. I'm going to try to not swear. And if I start to lose it, I'm going to use the Frank Costanza technique of saying serenity now in my head. But with that being said, let's get into it. Bears lose to the Packers. It was ugly, man. That first drive for the Bears, they scored the touchdown. They looked good. Montgomery was running the ball. Fields looked good. He ended up running it in for the touchdown. And then the shit kind of hit the fan again. Fields did not look good. He struggled. The offense struggled. After that first drive, when Montgomery was looking good, they were running the ball good. The next 5 drives for the Bears, he only got 1 carry. That's unacceptable. That's Luke Getsy, and that's also Matt Eberflus. A lot of the blame is going on Luke Getsy, and I get that. He's not very good right now, play calling and all that. But at the end of the day, Matt Eberflus is the head coach, and he has the ability to say, give it to Montgomery. Get him in the game and give him the ball. And they just didn't do that enough. And a lot of blame is going on Justin Fields, and I think rightfully so. I mean, last week, I said that he was the best player on the field in that second half against the 49ers. And that's just what I saw, and that's what I believed. And then he comes out here against Green Bay, and he just lays an egg. I mean, for all these fans out here and all these analysts that want to say, oh, well, you know, the offensive line and the receivers, and they're not giving him enough help. Yeah, that's all fine and good, but at the end of the day, it's on him to perform, and he's just not doing it right now. And I don't want to be one of these guys that overreacts to one game, so I'm not going to do that. But let's look at Justin Fields' starts as an NFL quarterback. He's had 12 starts as an NFL quarterback. Now, what are his numbers in those 12 starts? 166 of 283 for a completion percentage of 59%. That's not very good. That's not going to cut it in the NFL. He's going to have to be better than that. 1,991 yards. That's not very good over 12 starts. And at the end of the day, 3 wins and 9 losses. That's unacceptable. And he's going to have to be better. And at the end of the day, all you can judge a quarterback on is his numbers, yeah, but also wins and losses. He's had 3 wins as an NFL quarterback. And at this point, you got to think, is he an NFL passer in this league? Is he a quality NFL passer? And if you'd have to say right now, the answer would be no. And, you know, one of the goals, besides winning a Super Bowl and besides making it to the playoffs, which I don't care who you are, in the NFL, you're an NFL team, you're a professional team, your goal is to win a Super Bowl. But besides that, one of the goals for this team this year was to find out if Justin Fields was the guy going forward. And through 2 games, you really don't know. And if you had to say yes or no, it'd have to be no. He's had 1 good half against the 49ers. The other 3 halves have been shit. So he's going to have to be better. Certain plays, I mean, he's taken too many sacks. And people want to put it on the offensive line, but this is the NFL. And you have 1.5, 2 seconds to get rid of the ball, and if you don't have anybody open, you got to get out of the pocket. I mean, you look at guys like Tom Brady, they're experts at this, making the read within a split second and getting rid of the ball. Right now, Justin Fields has guys open, he's just not letting it rip. I mean, one of the key plays to me, coming out in the second half, he had the scramble on the first drive of the second half to make it 2nd and 3. He takes a bad sack on that second play. I mean, they got to him pretty quick, but he still had a couple guys open. He just didn't let it rip. And then on that 3rd down play, he had Equinemius St. Brown wide open on a post route. Would have been a touchdown if he would have let it go. And he also had other guys wide open. On his first read, he had Dante Pettis open, and he just didn't let it rip. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's not trusting himself. He's not trusting his eyes. He's not playing very confident. You had the other play where it was a 3rd down in the first half. He kind of took off to run, went past the line of scrimmage like 2 yards and got rid of the ball after that. Then it's a penalty, loss of down, they got a punt. It's unacceptable. And to me, you know, that just shows a lack of confidence on his part. You can say, oh, that was dumb, that was stupid, and yeah, but at the end of the day, he's not trusting himself. He's not trusting his arm. And when guys are open, you got to let it rip, man. And a lot of people are putting the blame on Luke Getsy, and I get that too, because right now, he's not being very strategic with his play calling. You gotta put guys in situations to succeed. And Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet are your top guys coming into this year. They haven't done anything. I mean, Cole Kmet had the one target against the Packers on Sunday, and he dropped it. That's unacceptable. But you got to put guys in position to get quick hitters and get open. Darnell Mooney, he has 2 catches for 4 yards? He had the 1 catch for -5 yards last week. That's unacceptable on Luke Getsy's part. And you got to be strategic. If Montgomery's running the ball good, you give it to him 3 times, he runs it good, the next play run a bootleg. You run the read option, the QB read, and you hand it off to Montgomery 2 times, then you hit Mooney on the bubble screen. You got to be more strategic than he is, and right now he's not cutting it, and it makes me wonder if he's the guy going forward. Now, a lot of guys are saying, is Luke Getsy on the hot seat? You got to give him more time than this. It's been 2 games. Yes, they've been bad, but you got to give him time to figure it out. It's his first time as an offensive coordinator, so we'll see what happens from here. But from right now, he's losing my confidence. He's losing the fans' confidence, him and Justin Fields combined. Now, you can't just put it all on the offense, because this game, the defense was atrocious, pitiful. It was terrible, the defensive effort in this game. This was some of the worst tackling I've ever seen out of the Chicago Bears. Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Roquan Smith, I mean, top to bottom, they just did not look like NFL players, especially Kyler Gordon. I mean, between coverage, missed tackles, I don't know how many missed tackles he had. The defensive line wasn't getting the penetration on the run game. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones just ran all over him. The perimeter, they couldn't set the edge. One of the only bright spots for the defense was that pass rush. And Trevis Gibson had a couple sacks. Robert Quinn had a sack. Those guys are good. But besides that, the defense, the tackling, that was just really bad from the defense. They're going to have to step it up here. And if guys aren't performing, if Kyler Gordon isn't up to par as a cornerback in this league, you're going to have to put somebody else in there. And I know they don't have much, but you're going to have to find guys off the street, because I know he's a rookie and you're trying to make him learn, but you cannot be that bad tackling and in coverage. So really disappointed from the defense. I thought they had a strong week in week 1. They did improve a little bit in the second half against the Packers. They only gave up those 3 points, but still not good enough. Aaron Rodgers showed why he's Aaron Rodgers and really made that Bears defense look silly all night. All right, with that being said, let's get into my studs and duds from the week. A lot of duds, not too many studs, but let's see what we got here. My first stud of the week, let's start with the studs, Trevis Gibson. Like I said, the 2 sacks. He set the edge all night. He got to Aaron Rodgers. He made him uncomfortable. Really good to see from Trevis. I like our pass rushers from top to bottom. They all look good. Trevis Gibson is my first stud of the week. My second stud of the week is going to be Justin Jones. Another one of the only bright spots on that defense. The D lineman was making plays in the backfield all night. I think he had like 2 or 3 tackles for loss. He was the only defensive lineman that was really getting in the backfield and making plays. Besides that, it was nothing from the rest of that D-line. So really good to see from Justin Jones, one of our new guys, free agent from the Chargers. My third stud of the week is going to be Tevin Jenkins. I don't know what the Bears are doing with this rotating guards thing. I've never seen it at the NFL level. The only time I've ever seen rotating guards was on my high school team. Now, we had a good high school team. We won the state championship. But rotating guards in the NFL, the best player plays. That's the rule of the game. Since the beginning of time, the best player plays. And then putting Lucas Patrick in here every other series, if the guy's not ready to play center, you brought him in here to be center. If he's not ready to snap the ball, then he sits on the sideline. Or put him in there for Whitehair for all that matters. Tevin Jenkins has been the best offensive lineman on the field for the Chicago Bears so far this year. That's what my eyes tell me. That's what the tape says. That's what I see. And to put him out every other series, there's something else going on here. I don't know if it's the front office. I don't know if the coaching staff has something personal against him. But you see him on the sideline. Even on that 4th and goal play, the critical play in the game, Tevin Jenkins is on the sideline. That's unacceptable. So you're going to have to – Matt Eberflus, if it's Luke Getsy making this call to switch guards every series, Matt Eberflus is going to have to step in and say enough's enough. Tevin Jenkins is our best offensive lineman. He's our toughest guy. He's a mauler. He should have been in there on that 4th and goal play, which, by the way, I don't know why they're running out of shotgun. I said that last week. Stop running it out of shotgun, and then they do a QB sneak out of shotgun. Get a fullback in there, and on that 4th and goal play, line up under center and sneak it in. Pound it in. And the offensive linemen have to do a better job, and Cole Kmet has to do a better job of driving Justin Fields into the end zone. A lot of people want to say it was a touchdown, Bears are getting ripped, the refs, all this stuff. No, that's an excuse. They need to be under center on those plays. They need to hand the ball to David Montgomery. He was your workhorse that game, and that is my 4th stud of the week, David Montgomery. Way to bounce back, David, from a bad first week. I said it last week. He was one of my duds with 17 carries, 27 yards. Well, he flipped the script this week. He was absolutely dynamite, breaking tackles, making jukes. He had so many carries of like 10-plus yards. I mean, this guy was playing dynamite, and then you get to that 4th and goal play, and they don't give him the ball. Inexcusable. Luke Getsy, you got to be more strategic. You got to give it to the hot hand. David Montgomery is my 4th stud of the week. Way to bounce back. Let's get into the duds. We got a lot of good duds this week, a lot of bad duds, I should say. Justin Fields, my 1st dud. You haven't been improving, man. And right now, you're looking like one of the worst passers in the NFL. I mean, that's what you got to say off the stats. That's what the eyes tell you. The only guy comparable in stats to how bad Justin Fields has been through his first 12 starts is Zach Wilson for the Jets. You got to show some improvement. You got to be a better pocket passer. You got to let go of the ball when guys are open. You can't keep taking sacks like this. 70 yards as an NFL quarterback, that's piss poor. That's bad. So 70 yards on 7 of 11 passes. People want to say, well, they gotta throw more passes. Luke Getsy has to give him more opportunity to show his passing game off. And I get that, but they don't have trust in him right now because he's not letting it rip. He's not trusting his eyes. Justin Fields is going to have to be better if he's going to show the Bears that he's the starting quarterback going forward. And if not, they're going to have to find somebody in the offseason, whether that's through the draft, free agency, or trade. But, it's early in the season. I don't want to overreact, and we'll see what he does the rest of the season here. My 2nd dud of the week, Kyler Gordon. Terrible. He did not look like an NFL player out there. Could not cover anybody. He had the one good play in the end zone, the first drive for the Packers where he broke up a pass. But besides that, missed tackle after missed tackle. Aaron Rodgers was picking on him all night. You could see he was kind of losing a little bit of confidence there. Hopefully it was just a bad game for him and he could bounce back. I was pretty excited about him coming into this year, but not a good game from Kyler Gordon. And my 3rd dud, Roquan Smith. I mean, from last week, he was one of my studs against the 49ers. He was playing all over the field. This week, he just looked like a totally different player. He could not keep up with Aaron Jones on the perimeter. He wasn't all over the field making plays. He wasn't good in coverage. And, in the offseason, he's talking about sitting out. He wants all this money. He wants to trade. Well, then go show it, Roquan. And you didn't show it this week against one of our division rivals in the Packers. You had the perfect opportunity to go out there and show why you're worth all that money. And I don't want to hear it anymore, frankly, with all this, you want $100 million and all this other stuff. He wasn't all over the field making plays. He looked tired. He looked fat. You're going to have to be better here going forward, and you're going to have to make more plays if you want the Bears defense to be what it is, and you're the leader of this defense. You're going to have to perform. My 4th dud of the week, this is a no-brainer for me. Not a player, but a coach, Luke Getsy. The 4th and goal play call from the shotgun, that was bad. Like I said, no strategery. This is football, and it's a game of physical prowess, and it's a physical game, but at the end of the day, it's a mental game. And the people that can control the strategic angle of the game are the coaches. And right now, Luke Getsy isn't getting it done. I mean, 2 games, he looks really bad. Justin Fields, I get it. The blame's on him too, but this is your offensive coordinator, and play calling is going to have to be better. Bootlegs, more read options, stuff like that. But, 4th and goal play, that was really a disappointment, and that's on him, in my opinion. But before him, you got to put the blame on Matt Eberflus too, because on that 4th and goal play, he has the ability, he hears everything in that headset. He has the ability to say, no, put the fullback in and give it to Montgomery. But he didn't do that, so, People are saying hot seat for Luke Getsy. No, give him some time. But he is my fourth dud of the week. And with that being said, we got to move on here. We got to move past this game. Like every win, you can't get too high. And like every loss, you can't get too low. So this week, we have the Houston Texans coming to town. They're coming to Soldier Field on Sunday at noon. And this is a Lovie Smith revenge game. Houston doesn't have a lot of talent, but they're playing hard. Lovie has them playing hard. They had a close game against the Broncos last week. They lost it in the fourth quarter there. They're inept of talent, but not inept of attitude and aggressiveness. And Lovie has them playing hard. Defense, not a lot of guys to look out for there, but it's Lovie Smith. And like I said, it's a revenge game for him, even if it's a different front office that he's coming back to Chicago to face. Offensively, they got a couple talented players. Davis Mills is the quarterback. He was drafted in the second round last year. I like him. He's not a stud by any mean, but I do like him. He's got some talent. He's got a pretty good arm. And then Nico Collins, a receiver for them. He looks really good. He had a really good game last week. And Brandon Cooks, he's always been a good player in this league. So they do have some talent on wide receiver in Houston. So those are some guys you're going to have to watch out for. Their offensive line, though, is not very good. They gave up 3 or 4 sacks to the Broncos last week, and that's one of the strong suits for the Bears. So they should be able to get pressure on Davis Mills. Start this game off good. You're going to have to start good. You're going to have to get some easy passes going for Justin Fields. Get his confidence going. Hopefully he can have a better week this week and answer some questions that Bears fans are having about him. It's interesting. I know Fields, he had that comment at the end of the game about the fans and how it means more to the players and all that, and I get that from him. It does suck as a player. I've been in that position where you don't perform well. It hurts. It hurts really bad. But, he's going to be in front of Soldier Field on Sunday, and if he doesn't play well, don't expect the Boo Birds to start coming out. So against Houston, I do like the Bears in this game. I know I picked them last week, but I'm going to pick them again this week. They're actually favored in this game by 3. They just have a different level of talent, I think, than Houston, and they should take care of them, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. All right, my NFL power rankings, my top 10 power rankings go as such. Number 10, the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay bounced back after that bad loss to Minnesota. Rodgers looked good. You look back at last year, and Green Bay lost that first game against the Saints, and then they won 7 or 8 in a row. Maybe that's just how it is for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. They just need that one game to blow off the rust. I like the Packers here at number 10. Number 9, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, they did lose on Monday night to the Eagles. Eagles kind of blew them out. But I still like Minnesota. I like their receiving core. I like their offense. I like their defense. Minnesota comes in at number 9. At number 8, you got the Baltimore Ravens. They were taking care of Miami on Sunday, and then they ended up blowing the game in the fourth quarter. I still like Baltimore. I always like Baltimore. I always like Lamar Jackson. So look out for the Ravens. They are 1-1, but they should be good moving forward. Number 7, the LA Rams. They almost blew a lead to the Falcons last week. They controlled that game throughout, and then the fourth quarter, they kind of let that slip. They barely won. A lot of people are high on the Rams. Not me so much. I don't like Matt Stafford. He doesn't take care of the ball. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl last year, but I think they're going to have a down year this year. But that being said, they still got some studs in Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. They're still a really good defense. So coming in at number 7 is the LA Rams. Number 6, you got the Miami Dolphins. What a win. What a start to the season for the Miami Dolphins. They came back. I really like their head coach, McDonald. He looks really good. Play calling. Tua, I think he had 6 touchdowns the other day. He's been one of the best quarterbacks this year so far. So, a lot of people talk shit about Tua. Tua looks good. That receiving core looks good. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I really like the Miami Dolphins. Big win for them on Sunday. Miami at number 6. At number 5, you got the LA Chargers. Justin Herbert, Mike Williams. They lost that Thursday night game to Kansas City, but I think they'll bounce back. I think they just had a rough game. It's a tough place to play in Kansas City. I like the LA Chargers at number 5. At number 4, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people like the Eagles coming in this year, and I see why. They took care of Minnesota on Monday night. They're 2-0. They look good. Jalen Hurts looks phenomenal. I really like the Philadelphia Eagles at number 4. At number 3, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a couple close games here. Defense is still dynamite. They might have a tough time this week coming up because they're without Mike Evans. They had that fight with him and Marshawn Lattimore. That was interesting to see. I don't really agree with that suspension. I know Brady was complaining about it too, and that stuff kind of happens in NFL games. So they're going to be without some receivers. I think Julio Jones is banged up. Goodwin's banged up, but now you're without Evans. So it's going to be tough for them maybe these next couple weeks without those guys. But I still like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady at number 3. At number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. More of the same for Kansas City. Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid. It seems like every year for the past 5 years, they've been one of the top teams. The way they move the ball on offense, the way they play strategic football, it's really good to see, fun to watch. I like Kansas City at number 2. And at number 1, as most of you could predict, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. They look dynamite. Can't be stopped. They took care of Tennessee like no other. Tennessee was no match for them. Defense, offense, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. Buffalo Bills are without a doubt Super Bowl favorites this year, and you can see why. And Josh Allen, you can see why he's the MVP favorite. So that is my top 10 power rankings for the NFL. We'll see how things change next week. Let's segue into some college football and some Big Ten football. But before we get into the Big Ten, one team that has really been fun to watch this year so far, Appalachian State. We talked about them last week. They beat Texas A&M. This is a small school in West Virginia. And if you didn't see it last week, they had a really fun game against Troy, back and forth game. It came down to the end. Appalachian State was on like their own 40. Last second, Hail Mary. Quarterback rolled out, threw it deep, didn't even get to the end zone, but one of the receivers tipped it back in and got it to another receiver who ran it in for the touchdown. The stadium went crazy. The announcers went crazy. Appalachian State is a fun team to watch, and look out for them. And maybe they crack the top 25 here coming up in the Sun Belt Conference. Watch out for Appalachian State. Fun team to watch. Some other teams to look out for. NC State, I like them this year. They look good. Kentucky, Washington, I like Washington. Oklahoma State looks good. USC. USC looks like they're getting back to the USC of old. It's been like 15, 20 years here that they haven't been as good as they were. But now they're like the 7th-ranked team. Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, that receiver they got, Addison. They look really good. I like USC. Look out for them here and moving forward. And then Clemson. I like Clemson this year. They haven't been as good the past couple years, but this year, their quarterback, Ungale, I like him. I like Clemson. But then, your top 2 teams, Alabama and Georgia, there's no change there. Unless one of these teams lose moving forward, those are going to be your top 2 teams moving into that SEC championship game. Expect to see them there. Those are still your top teams. Big Ten-wise, Michigan and Ohio State, they both won by blowouts. We talked about Michigan last week and how much I like them, but at the same time, they've been playing some of the worst teams in college football. They had UConn this last week. I think they beat them by like 56-0, and Hawaii the week before that. So they're coming up on some conference games here. Harbaugh took their approach that these first few games, we're going to play lower-level teams and beat the crap out of them. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them when they play a better team here coming up. Ohio State took care of Toledo pretty handily. I think they scored like 70 points on them. So those are still your 2 top teams in the Big Ten. Other than that, Iowa and Wisconsin bounced back. I said last week, look out for some not-so-consistent play out of those teams because they lost last week. They bounced back. They took care of their respective opponents, Nevada and New Mexico State. I think Wisconsin put up like 60 points or something like that. A bad loss in the Big Ten, though, Northwestern. Last week they lost to Duke. This week it got even worse. They lost to Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois, that is not good for Pat Fitzgerald. And Northwestern, this could be a really bad year for them. Pat Fitzgerald, he's never going to be on the hot seat there. He's a legend there. But still, not very good from Northwestern. Purdue, if you didn't see that game against Syracuse, that was a good game. They scored a late touchdown. Purdue did. The tight end got a touchdown, and then he started showboating, talking shit. He ended up getting a penalty, and then the head coach got a penalty. Ended up moving Syracuse all the way up to the 50 with like 20 seconds left. They ended up scoring a touchdown. Purdue loses to Syracuse. I mean, if you're a fan of Purdue, you got to be looking at that tight end like, dude, what are you doing? You score that big touchdown, and then you ruin it with that penalty. So that was interesting to see. Michigan State, they got blew out by Washington. I said I liked Washington. Their quarterback, Penix, coming out of Indiana. He played for Indiana the last few years. Washington looks really good, and they beat the brakes off of Michigan State. And Mel Tucker in that defense had no answer for Penix, the quarterback at Washington. Penn State had a big win against Auburn. Took care of Auburn, which is an SEC team, one of the top SEC teams year in and year out. I like Penn State. They beat Purdue that first game. Now they beat Auburn pretty handily. If you haven't seen Penn State, they got a couple good running backs. This true freshman, number 10, he's exciting to watch. And then their quarterback. I mean, he almost doesn't even look like a quarterback. He's a little guy. He kind of looks like a kicker or something. He got planted in that game. He got absolutely rocked, and you kind of looked at him, and he got up, and he was kind of seeing stars. But he got right back out there and won that game. You know, I like that quarterback. I like that team in Penn State. And then finally, Illinois had the bye week last week. They had the week off. Coming up this week, they got Chattanooga. Now, you might think Chattanooga is not a very good team, but they are. They're an underrated team. Hopefully, Illinois can take care of business here in this last out-of-conference game before they get into the Big Ten schedule. Illinois needs to win. Go 3-1. Get back up in these Big Ten standings and take care of business. All right. With my picks of the week, my 3 picks of the week. Last week didn't go as planned. I went 1-2. I ended up winning that Atlanta Falcons game, but my other 2 games, the Raiders, they should have won that game. They should have covered the spread. They had Arizona right where they wanted them, and then Kyler Murray came out and killed them at the end there. He had the rushing touchdown. He had the 2-point conversion, and then Hunter Renfrow fumbled in overtime, and the guy from Arizona ran it back. So I still like Vegas. That was disappointing to see. And then I had the Bears, and we all know what happened there. I think they should have covered too if they punched that ball in the fourth quarter on 4th and goal. But that being said, I'm still 4-2 overall. So with that being said, my 3 picks this week, the Detroit Lions, +6 in Minnesota. Minnesota had that tough game against the Eagles. They lost. Detroit won their game. I like the Lions this year. I really do. I like what they're doing offensively. Their defense is tough. I like the Lions in this game, +6 in Minnesota. My second game, I'm riding with the Raiders. I know they let me down last week, but I'm riding with them this week in Tennessee. Raiders are -2.5. Tennessee looked bad, man, against the Bills. And I know it's the Bills, but Tannehill couldn't do anything offensively. Couldn't get Derrick Henry going. That defense doesn't look good. So I like the Las Vegas Raiders in this game, -2.5. My third game, I'm going with the KC Chiefs, -6.5 in Indy. So I'm going with all the road teams this week. Indy got the brakes beat off of them last week by the Jacksonville Jaguars, 31-0. Didn't put up 1 point. Matt Ryan doesn't look very good. That team just doesn't look very good. And you know the Chiefs. They're capable of beating teams by 14, 21. So I like the Kansas City Chiefs here, -6.5. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up here for SuckerFree Sports Talk. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button below if you like this show. Hit the like button and follow me on my social media platforms. And remember, if you're going to talk sports, always keep it sucker-free.